You are now tuned into the SoCHiology podcast. SoCHiology is a lifestyle brand that analyzes Chicago culture and connected topics abroad, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. This is SoCHiology episode 39, but it's also going to be the first episode in a sub-series that I'm starting titled Twiz Theater. And Twiz Theater is just basically me talking random thoughts from my mind on a particular subject that crossed my mind. Guests are not required for these episodes, even though guests aren't required for anything that we talk about on SoCHiology. I choose to have that because I love to get the different perspectives of Chicagoans around the city. So again, this is SoCHiology episode 39, Twiz Theater number 1. And we're going to talk about Lakeshore Drive, but we're going to get there in a minute. You know, last year, in 2020, over 168 Confederate monuments or symbols were removed around the country. Basically, all of them came after the George Floyd riots and the murder that occurred, unfortunately, in 2020. But over 168 Confederate symbols and monuments were removed last year. That's huge. You know, this country is trying to do its quote-unquote best to wash away the stains that racism still exists, right? Even though we know it still exists, we know systematic institutional racism, everyday racism is still here. It's not going anywhere. They're trying to do their best to erase it, right? They're trying to get these sports teams, the Washington Redskins, to change their names, all of these things. That's cool, whatever. To my knowledge, there are no Confederate monuments in the state of Illinois, the land of Lincoln. There aren't any here, but that doesn't mean there aren't monuments and statues of racist men here. You know, they just removed the statue of Christopher Columbus last year in Grant Park. It was a whole thing about that. They just removed that. Stephen Douglas, the namesake of the community of Douglas, which encompasses Bronzeville. That man was racist than a motherfucker. He's still standing. There are monuments of racism and racist white men all throughout Illinois and Chicago, although they're not Confederate per se, right? So my question is, shout out to Alderman David Moore, who's a graduate of Western Illinois University, my alma mater. He is the one who led the spearhead to rename Lakeshore Drive after the founder of Chicago, the black man, Jean Baptise Point DuSable. Cool, that's the name. Lakeshore Drive is still included. My question is, though, why Lakeshore Drive of all things? I mean, it's a bunch of other ways and other things we could have named after this great black man that's very important to Chicago. Again, I'm just a regular citizen. I'm not a politician. I'm not on the board of the Chicago Park District, but the DuSable Museum sits in Washington Park. Washington Park is named after George Washington, the first president of this country who was racist, who owned slaves, who didn't care about black people. Why not name the park that DuSable Museum sits in after DuSable? DuSable Park, DuSable Museum, boom, it all goes hand in hand. Or why not name Jackson Park after DuSable? Now, Jackson Park is being reinvented, desecrated, is just being rearranged by the Obama Library currently. But Jackson Park is named after Andrew Jackson, who was another president of the United States, who also was racist, who also owned slaves. Why not name Jackson Park after DuSable? DuSable Park, Obama Library, they go hand in hand. Or what about Garfield Park out west? Garfield was named after, yes, another president, James Garfield, who he didn't own slaves. He fought in the Civil War. He fought for the Union Army, but he didn't think black veterans from the Civil War deserved equal treatment. He didn't think they deserved equal pay or special treatment, as he said. So therefore, he was racist too. Why not rename Garfield Park after DuSable? DuSable Park out west. It's a bunch of different things, I don't know, that I feel like we could have honored DuSable, who founded Chicago, in different ways, besides naming a random expressway after him. Lakeshore Drive is fitting. And if you listen to the episode that we did on Lakeshore Drive, you'll see how Chicago residents feel about Lakeshore Drive. They still call it that. There's no shade, no disrespect to DuSable. He is to be respected. But Lakeshore Drive is still Lakeshore Drive with his name in front of it. And that's okay. It's here to stay. Now, we have other parks named after great black men, Chicago Titans around the city. Harold Washington, the first elected black mayor of this city. His park sits in Hyde Park. Harold Washington Park, that's in Hyde Park. There's so many ways we could have honored DuSable besides naming Lakeshore Drive after him. That's just my opinion. That's coming from Twiz Theater. Now, the interesting thing is DuSable Park does exist. That's what a lot of people might not know. But no one goes there because it's hazardous, because it's contaminated, all those things. DuSable Park is forgotten. It's right by the lake, near downtown, in downtown, whatever you want to call it. And it was supposed to be the site of what was supposed to have been the tallest building, not just in America, but in the Western Hemisphere, the Chicago Spire. Now, if you look at it, if you Google it, it's a funny looking building. It was supposed to have been 154 floors high, and it was supposed to have been the tallest building in this hemisphere, but it never came to fruition. Plans kept changing, things kept hitting the fan, and then now it's forgotten about. People don't even know what the fuck it is. But it was supposed to have been at DuSable Park. So DuSable Park just sits there alone. No one cares about it. No one visits it. They say it's hazardous for whatever reason. I mean, I'm sure there are valid reasons, but again, this is Twiz Theater, random thoughts from my mind. DuSable Park could have been anywhere besides Lakeshore Drive. It could have been Jackson Park. It could have been Washington Park. It could have been Garfield Park. It could have been something. We could have found something else to name Jean Baptise Point DuSable. But we chose Lakeshore Drive. And of course, they're saying that they're going to build like some elaborate park. You know, maybe it might be the actual DuSable Park. I don't know. But it's supposed to be near the Riverwalk. They're supposed to be developing something for him in the near future to further honor him. But for now, DuSable Park is forgotten. It's contaminated. Washington Park, Jackson Park, Garfield Park still exists. Stephen Douglas is still standing. And that's that. If you enjoyed this podcast, I ask for two things. Number one, leave a 5-star review. And number two, pass it on to a friend who may enjoy it as well. And don't forget to subscribe to our other podcast, Mogul Motivation from True Stories Media.